We'll go ahead and get started now. I want to welcome everyone to our How to Write a Resolution workshop. I think this is going to be my favorite so far just because it's a really more of an interactive webinar that allows all our students to collaborate and really get into the details of resolution writing, especially around this time. It's super important to have just to get students, back into being a student leader. I know we were all on break, and so I'm super happy to have everyone present today. I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. My name is Catherine Squire, and I am the Vice President of the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. I'm also a student at San Joaquin Delta College, and I'll have my other two co-presenters introduce themselves right now.
Howdy, y'all. I am Caitlin. I'm the Regional Affairs Director for Region 1, and I go to College of the Redwoods, way up north.
Hello, everybody. I'm Henry Gardner. I'm the Regional Affairs Director for Region 8, and I go to Santiago Community College down in Orange County.
All right, and just want to thank them for being here. We're super excited to bring in this webinar. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. And I think I'm gonna pass it off to our next presenter.
Howdy, y'all. Okay, what is a resolution? A resolution is a research document that identifies an issue on a California community college campus or campuses and seeks to propose a solution to that issue. This could be anything from that you see on your campus, such as technology for students who do not have it, or something as broad as at any community college in the entire state. Resolutions are I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I've actually presented something, so my bad, y'all. Resolutions are then voted on by delegates at the SSCCC Annual General Assembly every year. Do you want to go to the next slide for me, Catherine? So there are 4 whereases and 4 resolves. They should all be cohesive sentences. The whereases should explain the issues on the campuses, as well as information and statistics to back up why this is an issue. And the resolved is what you would like the SSCCC to do about the issue on campuses.
I'll just go ahead and add, resolutions are really very short documents, but they mean a lot, right? Because you're incorporating so much research and so much effort and time in advocating for something that you see is an issue across our system. And so that's really what they communicate is that issue and also what your proposed solution is to that issue. And so the whole resolution as a whole, as you can see here, really should read as a cohesive sentence. It's very short, concise, and everything, all the parts, all the whereases and resolves really flow together. Were you ready for the next slide, Caitlin?
Yes, I am. If you don't know where to start, it could be as simple as seeing something on your campus, or talking to your delegates about what is affecting them on their campus. You just have to identify a topic that is important to you. We also already have a list on the Student Senate website of all the resolutions in the past. So that way you can search for them and make sure that you're not repeating the same topic that has been presented before, because you can't repeat topics. It's always good to get the opinion of your board and your delegates when you're creating a resolution, so you can help as many people as possible with an issue.
Yeah, I just want to give an additional recommendation here. The resolutions that usually pass at GA are ones that have a large, wide-scale impact across our system. And so you really want to do your research on your topic in advance, so you make sure to choose something that a lot of delegates are going to feel passionate about giving you a yes vote on. And also, we don't accept any repeating topics. So while that resolution database we have on our website can be used for inspiration, your resolution needs to be a completely new ask of us. And we don't accept duplicate resolutions. So that's just something to think about. Um, but we do accept various resolutions under the same kind of area. For example, if I've seen countless resolutions on basic needs, but resolutions can cover a lot of different aspects of basic needs, right? You might want to cover housing, or you might want to cover mental health. If you're covering mental health, maybe you're asking for additional counselors on college campuses. So that is an example of something that's a lot more specific, and an example of a new resolution, right? So that's something to think about, and that could really help strengthen your resolution is the choice of your topic. All right, so since this webinar is interactive, we're gonna go ahead and put everyone in breakout rooms, and we're gonna give you 10 minutes to brainstorm and discuss potential topics for your resolution. Because in this webinar, we're actually gonna have groups um, brainstorm topics and write resolutions on those topics today. So we're gonna go ahead, and we have 15 people in this webinar. So I think we can do 2 groups. And we also have discussion leaders. We'll have discussion leaders in these groups, and they have already renamed themselves. So if you can just look for them in your breakout room, they're going to help facilitate the discussion today. So take 10 minutes and just run through the topics you have in your head, and feel free to share them. And then you can either have your discussion leader, or you can pick a different group leader to come back and present on how your discussion went. So we're gonna go ahead and come back together and get started with I guess just a group discussion of how those mini discussions went. And I don't know if everyone got to pick a leader, or if your discussion leader will be kind of your spokesperson, but I'm gonna just go ahead and go through each group. So we'll go ahead and start with uh, Vice Chair of Region Two's group. So you can go ahead and just, share your discussions in the breakout rooms, what kinds of topics you came up with, um, just all the conversations that were going on, why those topics were important to you. Do we have Vice Chair too?
Okay, I couldn't unmute myself for the longest time, but sorry about that, everyone. So, hi, everyone. I'm Jen Galanado. I'm the Vice Chair of Region 2. And in my group, it was very interesting to hear the range of topics. Specifically, we discussed, oh my gosh, what was it? The nursing program, or the nursing, yeah, the nursing program lottery that occurs in some colleges, as the nursing program can be very competitive at specific colleges, in addition to another resolution idea specifically geared towards students who are immigrants, and how there aren't very many resources for them, especially given that we are in a time of a global pandemic, and there's so many, they're left out of the loop in this time, and there aren't very many resources offered to them in a time where they need them the most. And I'm sure I will leave it also to RAD Region 1 and our comms officer 10 to elaborate on those if they would so like to wish.
Yeah, I have the nursing one. My comms officer, or I'm sorry, my treasurer brought it to my attention that the lottery system for the nursing program is very, very hard to compete in and become a nurse. Even though there's a shortage of nurses, students aren't being brought into classes fast enough to keep up with the demand, we want to write a resolution about getting rid of the lottery system and instead doing first come, first serve kind of system. We're still working at the kinks though.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a new and interesting topic. So I'm glad to see that that went well. Does anyone from group one want to add to that? And if you do, I think I have to ask you to unmute, so you can go ahead and raise your hand. All right, we have Jorge Silva.
Yay. Okay, so mine, I joined in late, so I didn't have to be like something I'm actually working on. This is just something that I noticed because there was a student from Region 5 that actually reached out to me on my Instagram and told me, hey, I saw you on Instagram and I saw you're a student leader, I need help. And he is an immigrant student that was 1 year away in Mexico to finish his education, but he couldn't. And he is here now and he's scared of going to a college because first he's undocumented. So he's like, can I even tell them? And if I do, how much do I tell them? Am I gonna get like in trouble if I say anything? And then he's like, and I don't know where to go. And the saddest thing is he applied to the college and they told him when he called, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, like you go to the adult school because in this one, the English is too advanced for you. They straight up said that to a student that was asking for help. And so I was thinking maybe a resolution in the future would be really nice towards those students that are undocumented so they feel safe, something that can provide their, like, ensure their safety maybe. Something that like, I don't know, resources wise too. So that's something that I just noticed because of my own experience. I'm actually helping him. I communicate with the RAD of his region. We're gonna have a meeting together to see if we can find anything else in adult school for him.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that just goes to show, a lot of the topics that we're talking about right now and that I'm sure we'll hear about really come from our interactions from students on our campus, the things that they struggle with on a daily basis. I know that, undocumented students, we had a resolution for, I believe, to have them have financial support that got passed last year. But they're definitely up there with one of those disproportionately impacted populations. So I'm glad that those kinds of topics are being brought up and being discussed. All right, anyone else want to jump in from that group? All right, so let's go ahead and go to the group that had RAD2 as a discussion leader.
Hi. So our group kind of went like as like was really interesting to bring it up that like how we have like like with this pandemic we had like lot of like eye-opening things going around like like lot of like we are looking that students are like facing the equity issues and stuff. So our group really like note down and like they really wanted to write a resolution on like having like providing technologies like the free laptops to be more specific, like free laptops during to all the students, so like like at the community college level, like so that students get the benefit because since everything like even it is hard to do our assignments on our phones and like even if we need Wi-Fi and stuff, but like the computer, if we do not have a computer, how are we gonna like even open the what is it called like do our assignments? So this is something that we are really our group feel like strongly about, that having technology provides to the students will like literally like help students just getting the education, and like one of the barriers would be like would be removed from their head, like for not having the technology basically. So that is something like so basically providing technology and laptops was something. But is there anything else that Emily or Lorenzo or Brandon they might want to like that was something that we kind of all agreed on to write a resolution on, if anything?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Are there others in that group who want to share as well? You can go ahead and raise your hand. All right, we have, I believe it's Emily.
Hi. So I just want to add a little bit to what she said, because pretty much what we discussed she already talked about it. But one thing that I think it's interesting to notice is, I don't know how it's on the other districts, but at least in the LACCD system, the enrollment for students since the pandemic started like went down like drastically. So of course there are a lot of factors that go into it, but I believe one of the biggest factors is that a lot of students, they're not comfortable, probably like if they don't have a computer, they're not comfortable doing the assignments on their cell phones or their tablets, or they sometimes don't even have access to a good strong Wi-Fi or to good computers. So so the idea is that if everything is online, if you are hoping students to continue their studies online, because we can go back to campus, so then how do we make sure that then how are making sure that all of students, not just the ones that have access to technology, are actually being able to study? Because if we can't, even, and then if, of course, even if you go back to campus, like we still need to use computers. Like even if you use the computers at your college on campus, you still need to have like a laptop for doing all of the other assignments. And then still is just really important, because like how you're gonna make sure that everybody has the same education if one of the things right now to get education is for you to get access to a computer, or like and then if you don't have access to computer, then you're not gonna get this education, and while others will. And then how's this gonna be equal, you know?
Yeah, definitely all great points. And I think that's, that kind of adds on to the topic and saying that, uh, and being another way you can kind of explore the direction of a resolution on that, right? So there might be, additional research that you might want to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Um, and then I'll go ahead and ask our last group. They didn't have an official discussion leader, but I know we had one of our presenters in there. So, Rad Region 8.
All right. So, of course, feel free to jump in, Jack, Friendly, or Jose, if you really want to kind of add on and add more to your discussion here, because, of course, we did have a good amount there. We did go over pretty much 3 points. 2 of them are fairly similar in terms of funding. Where we discussed a natural disaster relief fund for ensuring that during any sort of natural disaster, any sort of pandemic in the future, that colleges would be urged to have something as a backup, something more so as a backup, and a stronger backup than we currently have, to provide for students and for students during those trying times, as well as another funding resolution to ensure consistent funding to colleges during natural disasters or natural occurrences like this, where students could still be supported in these times, or even student services could be supported in these times. And as a third point, we had a discussion regarding shelters and food banks in particular, or more so relating to the usage or enhancing the ties with city resources for colleges to use more local and outside and external resources to help provide for students during these times as well, or even outside of these times. So if anybody else wants to add for that one, be it Jack, Franley, or Jose, please feel free. I'm sure you can raise your hand, and we can unmute you as well.
Anyone want to add? All right, we've got one hand raised. Oh, a couple actually.
Yeah, just a ditto on what Henry said. Just a natural disaster relief fund that can really be applicable in any instance. It really motivated by the pandemic for me, at least, just to ensure that students see that colleges are lending a helping hand during that time. I think could really go a long way, just in sort of faculty to student relationships, and I think it could really help improve that overall, other than just assisting them when they really need it. And that's all really I'd like to say, other than what Henry said.
Yeah, definitely. I get the sense that we will definitely have our number of, I guess, pandemic inspired resolutions this year, given the time. So that's really a great thing to think about writing as well. Um, do we have one more hand? We might have lost it. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any more hands. So I'll go ahead and just recap this discussion. Hopefully, you kind of saw the details of what goes into brainstorming these topics, right? Obviously, we've mentioned already no repeating topics, but you want to make sure your topics is specific enough, that it's timely and relevant, that it's widespread across not just your campus, but multiple campuses. Um, and oh, sorry, and um, just blanked my mind. But those are all things to note, right? That go into that hopefully came up in your discussion is just making sure that all of those all of those are things that pertain to your topics. So great discussion. I hope those were helpful for you. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. We'll have some more breakout rooms later, but we'll carry on with this presentation. And I believe I am passing it off to Rad 8.
Catherine, before we move on, I did notice that we did have one hand up on the participants list. If you want to recognize that for the discussion, not sure if that was a follow-up. It's now gone. I believe it was Franley, though.
Okay. If you want to speak, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, we'll take this last hand and then move on.
Okay, thank you. I think it was Robert from Region 8. I'm not too sure. He did a great job basically mentioning the types of resolutions that we thought of as a group. I just was wondering, each region Senate board has to, I guess, agree or pass some of the resolutions. Is it only 3 from each region that can kind of move the resolution forward, or how many resolutions can a region push to legislation?
Yeah, so I think the term you're looking for is sponsorship. Resolution topics themselves don't get sponsored. Once resolutions are written, then you want to push it to whatever body your student body association or your region to get it sponsored. All bodies are allowed to sponsor up to 5 resolutions. So what that means is you'll basically have a day where you'll go through all those resolutions on your agenda, and then the 5 that get the most votes are basically the ones that are sponsored. So hopefully that answers your question.
Kind of. Thank you. I'm still a little confused, just like when it comes to the double S triple C. What are their actions once they receive the resolutions?
Okay, I would encourage you to attend. We have another webinar coming up that is just going to be on sponsorship. So that one will kind of get into the details. Today we're just more focusing on resolution writing. But if you'd like, you can stay at the end, and I'll go ahead and maybe you can clarify your question more, if that helps. Okay, so I don't see any more hands. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Rad 8, who's gonna lead us into our whereases.
All right. So now that you guys have had some time to kind of brainstorm your ideas, it's kind of really meant to put these into words for whereases. This is exactly why you're going to be writing this resolution and why this resolution is going to be presented, basically. So think of maybe the reasons why you thought of those ideas, be it a study you saw, an article you saw, a website that you found, or something that you found talking to other students, or even past legislation or past resolutions, something that really kind of spurred that moment. that's going to be something that you're going to include in your whereases, and you're going to cite those sources, and you're going to really include that. Just as with every research paper or argumentative essay you've ever written, you got to cite your sources, be it a link or whatever formatting style you like. It's just really part of that, and kind of validating why you're putting this together. So in these whereases, you're also going to be kind of arguing why this is impacting a majority of community college students, be it yourself or be it your college, or even be it based on the studies that you've seen, why this is an issue that those students should pay attention to, why other delegates should be paying attention to this, and why the SSCCC should be paying attention to this as they move forward. So do note that in the wording that you're going through and in the actual argumentation you're doing here. Again, always cite your sources. Any style is accepted, but it's going to be consistent. I know we've had discussions about this before, and just kind of bring this forth to you guys. You can just do links if it's just a website, but you can also go full MLA if you really want to. It's all up to you, as long as it's something that's readable and something that we, the SSCCC, can kind of see, or other delegates can see and easily use to see where you're coming from. One thing to note, though, for your whereases, of course, with the structure of these resolutions, you're going to look for 4. Just as mentioned before earlier with Rad Region 1, kind of bringing this up. But the last one is going to be really why the SSCCC should take action. So it's kind of really leading up to that punch, and then you're going to move into your resolves later on. And this is going to be the strong argument of why you're going to push your resolution forward, and really kind of wrapping that up before you move on to the action that you're going to take, which we'll go over later in this presentation.
Awesome. I just want to go ahead and add one more point on here. This is really where you're arguing and making the case for your issue. And you want to make sure that you're always using sources when you're making claims, because claims that are not backed by sources are simply just opinions, right? And that can really affect the ability of getting your resolution passed, approved, or even sponsored. So that's something to also think about as well. All right, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go back into breakout rooms. I'm actually going to put the link to a resolution template in the chat to help guide everyone. And discussion leaders, if you can open that up and just share that on your screen, or have it up, that'd be great, so you all can start. You all discussed and brainstormed some topics earlier, so I want every group to pick one of those topics to focus on. And you're actually gonna come up with 2 to 4 whereases. So this might require you to pull up your phone, look up some research, some links, and really start putting together your argument for whatever that issue is. So we'll go ahead and give everyone 20 minutes. At the end of 20 minutes, we'll come back and do that. All right, and those breakout rooms are ready for you, so you should be able to go back in. Before you do that, looks like everyone went already. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope those discussions were helpful. And we'll go ahead and get started with kind of sharing what you all came up with. I'm excited to see those. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I'll have the discussion leader present your resolution. So let's see who's first here. All right. Whichever group did the nursing lottery resolution.
Okay, so first, just a preference. I would love if our Rad from Region 1 could speak more onto this, as this is her idea, this is her resolution baby and whatnot. But in hindsight, this nursing lottery resolution is focused on how the nursing lottery system within California community colleges that has been implemented is hurting a lot of students. And you'll see here that our amazing comms officer from Region 10 has so greatly put in some information for the first 3 whereases. We will be getting to the resolves, but I think I'm done talking, so I will leave it to the amazing Rad of Region 1 to go further in depth on explaining this resolution.
So I would like to say that 20 minutes is not a whole lot of time. So the system has been in place since at least 2007, and the acceptance process is pretty much just computer program, and it's entirely random. So people can sit on a waiting list for 2 to 3 years before they get in, and someone who applies can get in the same semester. There's kind of no rhyme or reason to it. I do know that some community colleges do use a point system as well. But again, it's kind of a surprise lottery system. It's not really, doesn't make a lot of sense. And according to an article that we found, it was across the country, not just in California community colleges, but across the country, 75,000 students were denied access, were denied from the nursing lottery or the nursing programs, which is a lot of people. And it's a big just issue, because it kind of leaves some students out. People who are really passionate about the job and want to do it can be pushed to the side for years. So one of the ways that we'd like to resolve it is either a merit-based system. So the better the grades, the more likely they are to be put into the program, as well as a first come, first serve, where they can, the first, like 10 people that apply get in, and everybody else is on a wait list kind of situation. Obviously, there still needs to be more beef added to it, but this is what we have so far.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think this looks great. You started to use stats in here. I realized 20 minutes is a very short amount of time, so I'm not expecting it to be like the best resolution in the world, but this is a great place to start, right? You've got something down. You're using stats, you're using, you're explaining why this is an issue, how this is impacting students. And let's see. And you also mentioned, why should the SSCCC care, which is really what you want to kind of get to in your last whereas is, what is the role of the SSCCC in helping resolve this problem? So I think you've done a great job with that. Awesome. So we'll go ahead and move on, just to keep track of time. I believe this is Rad 8's resolution. So feel free to just give us a quick summary about it.
All right. So as expected, the 20 minutes was an extremely short amount of time. We spent a good considerable amount of time kind of looking for statistics to use and looking for things to kind of bulk up and bolster our research here. But to start off, we did kind of try to shape what we're kind of aiming to address regarding natural disasters and kind of the economic hardship that they create. And in particular, kind of why we should eventually, hopefully, seeking into the resolve section of this, we're going to be looking into probably seeking to bolster funds for those in some respect to help levy those economic hardships and help kind of lessen them in that case for students. So we didn't really get to move on to many other whereases, as you can see here. But we were kind of also having discussions regarding whether or not we should also include statistics regarding homeless students or homeless populations of students to kind of see where that would fit into this as well. But this is where we're currently standing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think obviously you picked a topic and shaped a whereas that was timely and pertinent to, what our situation is today. I see you also have, I don't know if this was going to be included or it looks like it might have, but there was a resolution that passed I think this might be mine actually that I submitted last year. But anyways, this was a past resolution on housing security from our database. And so citing past resolutions is obviously, honestly, a great way to start also. So great job. And then we have one more, I believe. Here we go. From Rad 2's group. Wow, this looks great. And I'll go ahead and let you kind of present it.
This is not R, this is Vice Chair. I have already sent it to you in your email.
Okay, let me look
Yeah.
that up real quick.
I've forwarded to you and Julie Adam. It says resolution writing template for some reason. Let me just do it Rad 2.
Okay, I have it. The computer's just being slow.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. All right, so I think this is the correct one.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is the one. So as we discussed that we wanted to have like a free Wi-Fi and technology like laptops for CCC students. So the whereas states like the role of the community college is to fight for equity in higher education and help marginalized like students to get closer into diploma. However, with the online transition and new technological gaps have been discovered with more technology, with more technology implementations within the classroom and Canvas, students need access to the computers and reliable internet access in order to complete the assignments and get into their professors' online classes, right? However, a considerable amount of marginalized students in California have stated that they do not have the reliable access to both, which is the laptop and the Wi-Fi. We still need to polish our resolution like with the stronger words, but this is something that we just wanted to bring it up like as an argument. In general, students must apply like certain types of financial aid, such as like scholarship and grants directly to institutions. Students cannot like use the money for other purchases, even if they wanted to relate to classroom expenses like laptops and student loans, and like there are very fewer restrictions to those loans basically and financial aid. Whereas 1,000 students or like low income students in California lack access to the internet and other devices engaged in the distance learning, according to October 2020 report, which has been what is it called? The link has been provided in below that has all these details. The digital divide in the higher education done by the Education Trust West organization. These numbers are increased in the students of color where 14,500. I'm sorry about the numbers. I'm not even looking at it right now. This is copy pasted basically. Students of color do not have access to the internet, and there are still 1,003. I'm not good with this number. Sorry about that. Lack access to the reliable devices to use for college courses. So the result is that the Student Center for California Community College work in collaboration with the Chancellor's Office or CC system to provide more technological help, that is like the free Wi-Fi and laptops to the CCC students to reduce these equity gaps. And that the Student Center for California Community College establish a protocol or process for checking out the laptops for CC students if needed, the help for some colleges, because I know not all colleges have those protocols and policies. So if they do need some help, maybe let us provide them some help with that as well, like creating protocols and policies. So
awesome. Thank you so much for presenting. I think this looks great. I mean, you have stats. You guys even got the title down. One thing I would note about this, and you cited your sources, all good. One thing I would note about this resolution, however, just to kind of make it a little bit stronger, is resolutions need to be really, really succinct and straightforward. And you have a lot of good information here, but usually we try to want to cut out all the fluff. And so you want to make sure you only really put in there, you know, try like, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. This first paragraph that might be a little bit long for one whereas. One thing I try to keep in mind while writing resolutions is that it's really meant to flow like one big sentence. And so you want to prevent it from becoming maybe a clumped up paragraph that kind of looks like here. So that's just something I would improve. But overall, I think you guys did a great job. So.
Thank you. And yeah, we did forget the semicolons and end and stuff. So we'll keep that in mind as well. Thank you for the feedback.
All right, thank you so much everyone for presenting. This looks great, and I know this resolution already even got its resolves up, but I know we'll go over some finer details on resolves right now. So I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Rad 8.
All right, so this is going to be a very quick section because I think a lot of people have already begun their resolves, of course, for each of the resolutions. But if the whereases are the why, the resolves are the how, and the resolves are really kind of how you're going to address the issue that you've described, or you're going to aim to address the issue, and hope the SSCCC will kind of work with you for that respect. So beyond kind of utilizing these resolves to determine how you're going to address these, you're going to really separate your topic from prior resolutions with these resolves. So maybe there might be an existing resolution that has a similar whereas to what you have, or maybe a similar topic, but it might not address it in the same way that you've wanted. And this would be how you change that. So perhaps there's an urging of a past resolution to address like homeless students or homeless student housing, which I believe there is actually. And maybe you want to further address that, or even do something more beyond that to increase funding for that, and advocate for the SSCCC, or advocate for the SSCCC to advocate for that to be increased in funding. Then you could kind of put that into the wording of your resolved and push that forward. Just as with whereas though, and as was mentioned before earlier in this presentation, 4 is the magic number. So you'll always want to kind of stop yourself at 4 if possible. It is kind of where you should really aim to stop, because I think for the most part, you should be able to fit most of what your action is in those sections. Remember, you don't really have to describe the specifics about how much funding you want to see allocated, or how much funding you want to see done, or in particular, those sorts of things, but you do want to describe how you want the SSCCC to take action upon it. And that might be not as clear as perhaps just doing it maybe for your same SBA resolution or something like that, but it is just in general what you want our organization to help you with, and how we can help you do that, which might just simply be a basic urging or addressing of an issue. And as what Vice President Squire did kind of bring forward earlier, is you do want to remain succinct. You don't want this resolution to be something that takes time and takes time to read through, or is strenuous to read, or even strenuous to understand. You really want it to kind of get to the point that you want to make, be it with the whereases and then also with the resolves. So it's very clearly understood what that resolution is going to be doing when it hits the floor, maybe when it's passed.
Awesome. Thank you, Henry. And again, 4 is a magic number with resolves and whereases. You can have up to 4 resolves. That doesn't mean you have to, though. Sometimes resolutions just have 1 resolve, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's weaker in any way. It just means that there's only 1 action that you're asking us to do, which is completely fine. So I just want to mention that as well. The other note to think about as well as your resolve should make sure that they're in the SSCCC's purview. Make sure that it's something realistic that we can do. Obviously, if you're asking for like on-campus housing for all community colleges to be funded, that's not something that we can do, right? We're just a nonprofit organization advocating on your behalf. But in that, we can advocate for funding, right? So you want to make sure to have your resolves be specific in that way and clear. So, all right, so we're gonna go into breakout rooms one last time. This will be the last time. So if there are other topics that came up earlier that maybe you want to collaborate with other students on, that you met in your breakout rooms, feel free to exchange contact information. I think we'll only do 5 minutes just because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. But feel free to just come up. It doesn't even have to be 2 to 4. It could just be 1 quick resolve that addresses the issue you've identified if you haven't already. And that issue is the one that you laid in your whereases. And then again, we'll have our discussion leaders present that as well. Welcome back from your breakout rooms. I know that was a very short amount of time, but I hope they helped. So I took over Rad's 8 room. He had to leave a little early. But I believe we have, who was it that was in here? Oh, is everyone back? Is this everyone? We had Jack kind of lead the resolves for that group. So I was wondering, did you want to kind of share what the group came up with?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So our resolves, we tried to keep them succinct and really straightforward. So they were to urge the SSCCC for the establishment of a natural disaster relief fund that will financially assist all California community college students during times of natural disasters. And we really wanted to ensure that these funds wouldn't be affected in any way, so that they will go to students. So we wanted to also add for the SSCCC to ensure that these funds are not affected by any outside force, that they get to who they need to go.
All right, awesome. Both great resolves. Let's go ahead and move on to, Rad 2, I think you've already shared your resolves, but do you want to share anything additional?
No, but like we did kind of like look into like we do wanted to go forward with this and like maybe polish this a little bit, and then definitely your help would be needed, but that's all. Nothing but that we have kept the same resolve unless you have any input.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, and then lastly we have Vice Chair of Region 2's group.
Yeah, for sure. So for ours, I will again let our amazing Rad from Region 1 again go over these resolves. But in hindsight, once again, to get the gist of it, what we're asking for in our call to action in these resolves is that we, one, get rid of the nursing lottery system that is implemented currently within the nursing programs at these colleges. And the second part of our ask is for the SSCCC to advocate for the increasing of resources in these nursing programs, due to the limited resources that are offered within these programs right now. Caitlin, go ahead and take it away.
All right, I kind of talked a mile a minute, so I'm glad they were able to get it all down. We would like to change the lottery nursing system to a merit-based in order to provide a more equal opportunity to all students. We'd also like to have it be based on their work and their grades, regardless if they're first-time students or returning college students. So that way, it's not just a computer program where someone clicks a button and it's all random. We'd also like the SSCCC to advocate for more resources as well, because at least in my mind, if there are more resources available, you can put more students into the programs, which makes a much shorter wait list. And the community colleges could only use those, the resources provided for the nursing program, because it's really expensive. Those IV arms are like $1,000 each. It's not cheap. So yeah, we'd like the SSCCC to advocate for both the elimination of the lottery system and to advocate for increasing resources for the nursing program.
Awesome. Yeah, this looks great. I think this would be a great topic to submit as well. So kudos to everyone, really. Thank you so much for being, engaged and participating in the group discussion. So I hope this was helpful to everyone. Let me go ahead and put this PowerPoint back up, just to kind of wrap us up here. So now everyone's kind of in a first draft of a resolution, right? I know there were some very short amounts of time. So obviously this wouldn't be the final draft. Like with every paper you write, hopefully you're doing several drafts of a resolution, right? So these are just kind of some summary notes to think about once you've written your first draft, a checklist of things you should make sure that you have. So just go through some of these. Now, you want to ensure that you have a new topic that you're submitting, no duplicate resolutions, remember. Again, 4 is the magic number, so keep it to 4 whereases and 4 resolves. Doesn't mean you have to have it be that long, but that's the max. Make sure you have a resolution title that is fitting, that really embodies the intent of your resolution. One of the big ones is word choice. Make sure that you're choosing words like urges or advocates, and verbs that make your resolution strong. Feel free to cite legislation and facts that are relevant and timely. Using reliable sources is a big one as well. I would also recommend nonpartisan sources as well. So that's another big one. Cut out the fluff, right? As we've kind of seen in our resolutions, you want to make it succinct, straight to the point. So be specific and actionable with your resolves. Very similar to if anyone's ever heard of SMART goals. A SMART goal is an acronym. It basically means that a goal has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. That should really be your resolves, what you're asking for your resolves, right? So make sure that you check that. And then the last thing is ensure your asks are within our purview. It's something that we can do. And so that leads us to pretty much the end of this webinar. We're going to go ahead and stick around for questions, but before that, I just want to draw everyone's attention to these resources here, and I'm going to drop the link to this entire PowerPoint at the end of this presentation. But what we have in these resources is a writing guidelines packet for you to have more information on our process, how to submit resolutions. We have our past resolution database, which I've brought up multiple times. We have that template, which you've already utilized today, so you can go ahead and make a copy of that to keep for your records. And then I want to go ahead and highlight this other resources because we have a folder. But one particular thing that I want to bring up, my computer loads here. Here we go. Is this little PDF here. Sorry, my computer's slow. And it's a resolution writing and general advice. It has some of the things I talked about today, like the basics and the details as well. But one particular thing I think is really helpful, especially if you're really unsure of how to piece together your resolution, is focusing on the wording. So this has some examples of strong word choices that you can use and also other verbs. So I just wanted to go ahead and highlight that as well. All right, and getting back to this. Just want to give a reminder, we have some upcoming webinars coming up, just one next week as well on January 14th. So if you want to learn more about sponsorship, how to get your resolution sponsored before you submit it, which is required for all resolutions that are submitted, please come and attend this webinar and we'll really go through the details. We have some upcoming webinars on amendments, how to talk to your college campus on the resolutions that are in the disseminated packet, and also how to prepare for General Assembly and resolution debate. So I hope to see everyone at those. At this time, before we go to Q&A, sorry, that slide is in the wrong place, but I want to encourage everyone to stay connected with us. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I thought this quote was kind of timely for us as student leaders and resolution writers, because a lot of the times we're writing resolutions based on our own experiences and stories, but they're also about the experiences of stories on those on our campus, on our region, and all across our system. So the quote I chose to end with today is, "When the world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful." So I'll go ahead and go back to the Q&A. If there are any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll go ahead and take those if you have any last ones, but if you don't, you're free to go. And I'll go ahead and post the link to the PowerPoint in the chat. Oh, give me a second, everyone. I'm gonna post that link right now. Here we go. All right, and I see Jorge, you have your hand raised.
Hello. First off, I just want to say thank you for this event. Myself, I've never written a resolution. I've only seen them. Actually, my ASG already said this, but they thought they only could do events, and that's what they were told. Like throughout, like the whole time there was an ASG in my college, so there's going to be something new for them to start doing resolutions. I'm actually wanting to start a legislative committee on my ASG as well to have us do advocacy district wise as well, and be more connected with our region. And again, just thank you because of this, now I have more knowledge to give to my senators. So I can present it to them once I know more about resolution myself after studying this life and after studying all the research you provided. So this is just really amazing, and I appreciate you giving us the time of day to show us this stuff that many times costs like money for like trainers to come, and like no one it doesn't even stick and don't even leave you any resources. So this is just really awesome, and again, I'm really grateful. Also, again, to our interpreter, thank you so much. You're awesome. We really appreciate SCCC wise having people like you opening bridges towards our deaf and hard of hearing populace. Um, and yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jorge. And yeah, definitely our interpreter, Chris, who was also with us at our last webinar, has been amazing. So we really appreciate just his presence today. All right, and I believe we have Franley.
Hi, yeah, thank you, VP. I thank you so much for this event. Yes, Jorge said it great. It's nice to be a part of this. I just had one question. So when we kind of get to like finishing off our resolutions, if we wanted to go over it with one of the double S triple C, who exactly is like the best person to just look over the material?
Yeah, great question. So I believe myself and our executive director, Julie Adams, is actually going to have kind of like an open office hour later next week or early next week to just give advice to anyone who wants to bring their resolution in, and we can help you maybe make some edits that will make it stronger. But also, you can just email me as well and send me your resolution. And I can always just comment on your Google Doc, say, hey, maybe these are some things that you want to change. And I'll drop my email in the chat for you as well to utilize. But I'm really the best person to contact. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Any last questions? Get them out. All right. So it looks like that is the last of our questions. That email that I just dropped in the chat, if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always accessible. And so once I get your question, I'll be able to answer you. But I just want to, again, thank everyone for coming. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you think of any additional questions later, don't hesitate to reach out and get started on resolutions early. It's still very early in the month, so you all have plenty of time, and you've already taken the first step by being here. So